Huntington, West Virginia, the state's second-largest city, spreads out from the banks of the Ohio River, extending into neighborhoods nestled in the hills high above. By all appearances, the seat of Cabell County government and home to Marshall University is a model community, bringing together the best in higher education, business and professional opportunity, dining, recreation, and a relaxed quality of life.
The Chamber's purpose as a business community is first and foremost to provide a business climate that makes it proactive for companies to not only locate here, but also to stay and to flourish here.
But when the sun goes down, a seamier side of Huntington reveals itself. A city struggling with the devastating impact of drugs, theft, and violent crime.
The grief is too much for one woman. She broke through police tape to get to her child, one of four.
To describe the crime scene here on Charleston Avenue, you can see behind me several Huntington police officers still on the scene about 14 hours after the shooting took place. And people.
One neighbor says her family awoke to hearing a girl beg for her life. Then they heard gunshots.
You know that two adults and two juveniles were shot and killed early this morning in Huntington. Police are not.
The seeds for the kind of random violence that exploded in the summer of 2005 were sown much earlier in Huntington, during the mid to late 1990s, when the city saw a startling increase in the amount of drug activity and drug-related crime. Of particular concern to law enforcement were certain neighborhoods in Huntington's South Side, a bad part of town with a reputation to match. Retired Huntington Police Lieutenant James Johnson.
During May of 2000 and in the area of 2000, was 20th Street and 9th Avenue considered by officers of the Huntington Police Department, Cabell County Sheriff's Department, State Police, other law enforcement agencies, and even people in the neighborhood as a high crime district?
Yes, sir. We were experiencing at that time an influx of people coming in from Detroit and Columbus with crack cocaine, and they were moving into that area, and we were having quite a bit of trouble with those people.
And were there quite an increase in shootings, robberies, other related crime that goes along with drugs?
Yes, sir, there were.
By May of 2000, Sun Ventures Sunoco, a 24-hour gas station and food mart, had established itself as an anchor business in this neighborhood, having been at the 1954 9th Avenue location for more than 11 years. Owned and operated by brothers and Sun Ventures principals Eric and Mark Clevenger, the Sunoco station sat squarely in one of Huntington's more notorious neighborhoods, a fact acknowledged by the defendant's premises security expert, Dr. Bruce Kennedy.
The city's poorest area, which one would predict may be the highest crime area, is a 4-block stretch from 16th to 20th Streets called Fairfield West. That may be one of the more dangerous areas in town.
Are you aware of whether or not that is the same neighborhood we're talking about in this case?
Well, it may be the general neighborhood, but
it is the exact same neighborhood, Dr. Kennedy.
Between 1997 and May of 2000, Huntington police received 135 reports of criminal activity on the premises of 1954 9th Avenue alone, the site of Sun Ventures Sunoco station. Of these reported on-site crimes, 4 were robberies and 14 assaults. Including the immediate vicinity of the Sun Ventures Sunoco, a 1-block area totaling no more than .004 square miles, this number rose to 293 reported incidents, including 7 robberies and 38 assaults during the same time period. Given the Sun Ventures Sunoco's location and first-hand experience with criminal activity, these types of violent crimes were not only reasonably foreseeable, but a known risk of doing business on the South Side. It should have come to no one's surprise, least of all the Sun Ventures Sunoco's owners and management, that on May 22, 2000, Jamie Brown, a then 22-year-old store patron, would be gunned down as he crossed the store parking lot to buy a pack of cigarettes.
Police are now questioning a suspect in an early morning shooting in Huntington. That shooting happened before dawn this morning at the Sunoco station on 20th Street and 9th Avenue. A couple of men were talking in the parking area when a car approached. Men inside the car began arguing with the men standing in the lot. Then a passenger in the car fired 2 shots. One man in the parking lot was hit in the shoulder but survived.
I just walked away and I started walking closer to the pumps. And I remember as I was walking, it was just like, I felt like I was getting weaker and weaker. And I get halfway, and I just felt like I just needed to rest. So I just leant down and put my hand down. I leant down and I was like, Dad, you know, it wouldn't be a bad idea to just go ahead and lay on back.
Jamie Brown was born on January 12, 1978, in the rural mining community of Alpoca, West Virginia, the son of Ramona Brown. Raised by his maternal grandparents, Rose and Willie Brown, his childhood was, by all accounts, a happy one.
You know, he was a good child. Good. My mother kept him in church, and grandparents did the best that they could with him, and good, playful, happy all the time, spoiled.
Like most boys growing up, Jamie enjoyed sports and was a gifted athlete.
I was always real agile. I was the fastest person in the county for 3 years in a row. And football, it was always my best sport. Basketball, it came to be probably my best sport.
Before he was able to complete high school, Jamie and his girlfriend Delta Dawn Caldwell became the proud parents of Jamie Derrick Brown II.
As your father, I guess you wouldn't understand. I mean, you know, just first seeing him, I mean, it was probably the happiest I ever been about anything that I've ever done, actually myself, you know.
Jamie left school and struggled to support his son, working temporary jobs in North Carolina and eventually in Huntington, West Virginia, where in the early morning hours of May 22, 2000, he walked across the Sunoco parking lot and stepped into a nightmare. Worldwide security guard David Cottrell.
I heard a shot and then another one just seconds after.
And what did you see?
I seen the victim hit the ground and the car left at a high rate of speed.
The shots that nearly killed Jamie Brown in the early morning hours of May 22, 2000 came from the same car that had passed through the Sun Ventures Sunoco parking lot at least 10 times within the previous 2 hours, a sure sign of trouble to even the most jaded observer. Norman Bates, the plaintiff's highly regarded security expert and a frequent lecturer and author on the subject, will testify that Jamie Brown's shooting was reasonably foreseeable, and that the defendants did not take reasonable steps to provide adequate security at the Sun Ventures Sunoco station, given the past criminal activity at the Sunoco site and immediate vicinity, and the inherent and known risk of violent crime at 24-hour gas station convenience stores generally. Mr. Bates will further testify that the defendants were negligent by failing to respond appropriately to the suspicious vehicle activity on the premises during the 2 hours prior to Jamie Brown's shooting. The West Virginia Supreme Court combines the foreseeability and due care requirements, holding that the ultimate test of a duty to use care is found in the foreseeability that harm may result if it is not exercised. The test is, would the ordinary man in the defendant's position, knowing what he knew or should have known, anticipate that harm of the general nature of that suffered was likely to result? The Mallet Court requires a consideration of the likelihood of harm, the severity of the potential harm, the magnitude of the burden upon the business to protect against such harm, and the specific circumstances of the time and manner under which the injured person entered the property. The defendants in this case did not meet their duty of care in addressing a harm that was easily foreseeable. The likelihood of harm in this instance is undeniable. The defendants had actual knowledge that their store was a magnet for criminal activity, as evidenced by the 135 reported incidents on their premises alone during the 3+ years immediately prior to Jamie Brown's shooting, with a felonious assault and malicious wounding occurring just 4 days before the shooting, and a strong-arm robbery less than 3 months prior. These criminal incidents were reported to police by Sun Venture Sunoco's employees. Yet, astonishingly, at his deposition, Sun Venture's Vice President Mark Clevenger could not recall a single instance.
Were you aware that that in April of 1997 there was a robbery at the gas pumps where a knife was pulled?
I don't have an independent memory recollection of it.
Okay. How about in July of 1997 when someone threw smoke bombs in? Do you have an independent recollection of that?
I don't.
How about when in September of 1997 when there was an assault on the property and I think it was an employee was threatened to be beaten up? Do you recall that? Any
I don't have an independent recollection of it.
Okay. How about in November of '97, where a person was sitting in their car in your parking lot, and the driver's window was smashed, and the person was punched in the head? Do you have an independent recollection of that?
I just remember reading it in the deposition.
But you don't have an independent recollection of that?
I don't.
Okay. There was an incident that happened on the property just days before the Jamie Brown shooting, and that was a malicious wounding. Were you aware of that?
I don't have an independent recollection of it.
Mr. Clevenger was not only unable to recall any of these incidents, Sun Venture's Sunoco owners apparently did little at the time to learn if the store's existing security was adequate.
Is it safe to say then that you have never requested police data with respect to this location to determine whether or not any particular type of crime was foreseeable at this location?
No.
Have you reviewed census data about the area around Sunoco, this location, to determine whether or not it was a high crime area?
No.
Did you ever hire a risk analysis consulting company to assess the risk of crime at this location?
No.
Jamie Brown's shooting was unforeseeable to the defendants only because they chose not to look at the evidence squarely before them. Sun Venture's employee handbook, drafted by Mark Clevenger himself, clearly acknowledges the risk of violent crime and likelihood of harm, including sections entitled Safe and Secure and What to Do in Case of a Robbery. In his sworn affidavit, Mr. Bates confirms the dangerous nature of convenience stores such as the Sun Venture's Sunoco. Indeed, the National Association of Convenience Stores, of which Sun Ventures has long been a member, publishes its well-known Robbery Deterrence Manual. Industry, government, and law enforcement sources all recognize the inherent dangers of criminal activity and violent crime at late-night retail establishments. The second mallet factor, severity of potential harm, in this case was obviously great, as Jamie Brown's tragic shooting and resulting paraplegia demonstrate. The third mallet factor, the defendant's magnitude of burden to protect against this harm, was not great at all. Wheeler and Clevenger and Sun Ventures acknowledged the risk of harm by hiring a security guard, David Cottrell. But Mr. Clevenger cannot recall whether his company ever checked the security company's background or Mr. Cottrell's qualifications prior to entrusting him with the safety of the store's employees and patrons.
Did you undertake any kind of independent investigation into the credentials of Worldwide Security?
Myself?
Yes.
No.
Did you tell Brian he needed to do an investigation into Worldwide Security specifically?
I don't have an independent recollection of that.
Do you require background checks for your vendors?
No.
Defense expert Bruce Kennedy.
You've testified previously in court that even housekeepers for a Marriott should have a background check done.
Because they're allowed into the personal living areas. That's a sensitive job, yes.
Okay. And an individual that is in charge of security for an area where there have been armed robberies, is that a sensitive job?
an individual in charge of security for an area. I think security folks have a sensitive job, yes.
Why is security a non-delegable duty, in your opinion?
I think it's because there are certain things which are simply too important to allow people to delegate.
And isn't it true that once one assesses the need for a guard or to provide a guard at a location, that one should not hire a fly-by-night security company?
Sure.
Mr. Cottrell was incompetent, unarmed, untrained, and powerless to deal with a violent situation. Despite repeated requests to his employer, Worldwide Security, he was given no sidearm, mace, or other defensive weapon, no cell phone or radio to report suspicious or criminal activities, and he was not permitted to go behind the counter to use the in-store phone. And he had never received instruction or training from either Worldwide Security, Sun Ventures, or Wheeler and Clevenger.
What kind of training did you have prior to going to work for Worldwide?
Not much.
Did network security give you any training?
Not to my knowledge, no.
So it was on-the-job training?
Yes.
Did you ever attend on your own or through any of your employers? Did you ever attend any classes on security?
No.
The burden on defendants to properly administer, train employees, and use their installed Interactive Remote Intervention System, IRIS for short, was minimal. Sun Ventures subscribed to Sunoco's live audiovisual surveillance system, which, when properly maintained and operated, is designed to deter criminal activity and protect the store, employees, and patrons. In the event of suspicious activity, employees can instantly contact the IRIS Control Center and request immediate assistance or police intervention. But there is little evidence that Sun Ventures managers or employees were properly trained on IRIS.
Under 1.07, it says that the company shall train a dealer and the minimum of 2 of dealer's employees. Do you know, first of all, when it's trained dealer, who did they train? Do you know?
It would have been the store manager and the employees.
Okay. At this location, do you know who the manager was?
Right now, I don't.
Do you know who the 2 employees were that were trained?
No.
Do you have any records of who these were?
We don't have a, no.
Okay.
No.
Do you have any records who was trained?
No.
Subsequent training? Do you know anything about any subsequent training?
Not really.
A security camera prominently mounted on the Sunoco's roof gives patrons the false impression of active outdoor video surveillance. In fact, the Sun Ventures IRIS system was not connected to this camera, and the IRIS contract did not provide video surveillance outside the store, giving little added benefit or security for patrons on the store's parking lot. Any system, no matter how sophisticated, does not work when employees are either unwilling or untrained to use it. The defendant's obvious failure to exercise due care to protect their premises did more harm than good. It provided store employees, patrons, and residents of this community with a false sense of security, a hollow assurance that the Sun Ventures Sunoco was safe. While evidence of foreseeability is overwhelming in this case, the plaintiffs can also prove a simple and straightforward case of negligence, that the defendant's employees, A, had notice of the assailant's threatening actions of circling the Sunoco store 10 times or more without stopping in the 2 hours prior to the shooting, and B, had the opportunity to seek intervention through the police or IRIS monitoring system, but did not. Security guard David Cottrell first noticed a suspicious sedan circling the store earlier that evening.
How many times does it take to be suspicious in your mind?
In my mind, after the second time, it's suspicious, especially if they don't stop.
Plaintiff's security expert Norman Bates concurs that the assailant's driving pattern constitutes suspicious activity that warrants investigation and action, a position supported by industry sources and law enforcement professionals. The National Sheriff's Association recommends taking protective measures, such as teaching employees to report any suspicious activity to authorities and to be aware of persons who are loitering or behaving in a suspicious manner. Such persons may be casing the premises for burglary, robbery, or shoplifting. After the second time through, Mr. Cottrell testified that he asked the on-duty clerk to contact police or activate the IRIS system, but he was refused. Neither Cottrell nor the clerk contacted authorities.
I know it come through at least 10 times.
And what actions did you take?
Just basically I kept telling the clerk.
Assuming Mr. Cottrell's remarks are true, was it negligent for the employees not to call 911 under the circumstances described by Mr. Cottrell?
If you assume everything that Mr. Cottrell says is true, then I think that the appropriate thing to do would have been to call 911.
Had the defendant's employees alerted authorities, they would have been on site within a couple of minutes, possibly sooner.
If a suspicious vehicle call come in with two black males circling a parking lot at a gas station, at the Sunoco station or in that area of town, would that have been considered a high priority call for the police department?
Absolutely. It would have even been more of a high priority if the business was open, because obviously the first thing a police officer is going to think if somebody has been driving around like that, they're casing it for maybe possibly an armed robbery.
As a result of the defendant's failure to adequately secure its premises and its employees' negligent failure to act, Jamie Brown lay in their parking lot fighting for his life, a life far different than any he could ever have imagined. Jamie was rushed to Cabell Huntington Hospital and admitted in critical condition with a gunshot wound to his upper thorax and neck areas. X-rays revealed comminuted fractures involving C7, T1, and T2. Dr. Day diagnosed Jamie as likely triplegic. For the next 4.5 months, Jamie lay incapacitated at Cabell Huntington Hospital.
They got to come in every hour to turn me. They're supposed to come in every hour and turn me. They keep me from getting bed sores.
For the next 4.5 months, Jamie lay incapacitated at Cabell Huntington Hospital, where he developed painful decubitus ulcers on his ankles, coccyx, and sacral regions.
They're supposed to come in and do that every hour. So I sleep pretty good. I generally get up at I'll wake up at 9:30 to 10 o'clock. They had to do my dressing where I got bed sores. They had to come in and do my dressings. That should take probably about 30 minutes. They do that. All in all, it takes about a good hour, maybe 2 hours. Not about hour and a half to get me ready.
Since his discharge from Cabell Huntington, Jamie has lived in age-inappropriate nursing homes, ill-equipped to handle the extensive care he now requires. He continues to battle painful decubitus ulcers and contractures of his extremities, and has required numerous admissions to primary care facilities for ulcer debridement, sepsis, anemia, and malnutrition.
Someone to come in and give me a bath. I'll take a bath. I can't even give myself my own bath. I have to let them come in and wash me up. They had to, where I can't get up and go use the bathroom now, they put a suprapubic catheter in me and goes in my belly. They had to poke a hole in my belly, go into my bladder and put it in my bladder. And then they got a tube that goes onto the side of the bed. And they got that, and then like they got to switch it over and put it to the bag that you can hook up to my leg. So whenever I'm up, I mean, if I gotta use the bathroom, I just pee in it.
You think you did?
Get my clothes to wear. I need to have my clothes on. And they'll put them on me and everything.
You like Salisbury steak? You got 2 big bites there.
No, the bed did though. See, and it didn't even swallow. Then they gotta take and transport me over and put me in this chair. Like there's certain days where there's only somebody here. Like when like some of the guys are here, they can pick my whole body up and set me over. But when it's just like some of the weaker people, like the girls and some of them, they'll take the whole sheet and they'll lift me up and set me over in the chair.
1, 2, 3, great leg.
Sorry, y'all, I weigh about $1.
Farther?
Yeah. Like I can be sitting like I am now, and say somebody was to take a move me somewhere else if I don't get just right. You know how it is. You know how simple it is for like if you're sitting in a chair, you feel uncomfortable, and you just got to take a move a little bit, and you feel all right. But for me to get comfortable, you know, you feel just kind of embarrassed sometimes asking somebody, can you move this leg this way, or can you scoot me just a little bit more, or no, back this way. And then you just look at, people look at you like, you know, you're just trying to be hard on them, or like you're frustrating them. You don't want to bother somebody. At least I don't want to just keep bothering people. It's like a lot of times, if I really do need something, I'll ask them, but if I can avoid it, I just will just lay there, just deal with it. Can you get it any tighter up against my neck? All right, there you go.
Is that good?
Just go ahead. You know how you wash it down? Ooh, hold up, wait.
Are you freezing?
Yeah, my hair is wet. I'm catching a cold. My hair holds water bad.
You ready?
And I mean, I've always been a real independent person, and then having to depend on other people to help me and stuff. You know, it's really hard. Just little bitty things. I mean, you know, like brushing my teeth.
Things that everybody else takes for
granted. Yeah, you know, brushing my teeth, and then like now, like getting positioned and stuff.
What do you want to do? Or you'll say, what the? This shirt's eating you up.
We're going to come back tomorrow. We're going to do it all.
Oh man.
Every day till the 9th. All right. Yeah, he was the one in wrong.
They use that for him for the pain management.
Right.
But you don't want to mention it.
That's right.
Yeah, they still have him listed as deficient.
6'2". Can I speak to Chris?